It's the fast talk they use to abuse and feed my brain. It's the cat box, it needs to be changed. It's the pain, it's women. It's the plight for power, it's government. It's the way you're giving knowledge slow with thought control and subtle hints. It's rubbing it, itching it, it's applying cream. It's the foreigners sightseeing with high beams. It's in my dreams, it's the monsters that I conjure. It's the marijuana, it's the embarrassment, displacement.
My name is Amy, 46 years old, single mother, first generation American.
Where's your family from?
Middle Eastern background, Lebanese. And I have two children, two biracial children. Their father's African American. They're 15 and 12 years old. Two daughters.
Okay, so the topic at hand is, do you think that straight white men are oppressed in today's society?
But white men compared to other men of different races, I think they have more advantages.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're oppressed as much as.
Yeah. And, okay, so you say, I don't think they're oppressed as much as. What would you consider them, how would you consider them oppressed? If any?
Well, you put them in a different environment. If they're in an all-black community and trying to get a job,
Mm-hmm.
then it's reverse
discrimination,
and I think they would have a harder time making it in that kind of environment.
Yeah. But at the same time, they can walk out of that black community and they won't be oppressed anymore.
Sure.
So.
And black people walk out of that community and are still oppressed.
Exactly.
So, yeah. They definitely always have the advantage.
Kind of covered reverse racism a little bit. What do you think about reverse sexism? And specifically the feminist movement. Do you think the feminist movement oppresses men?
Oppressing? I don't think oppressing would be the word.
What do you think?
Intimidating. Life is a struggle. So it's all about opportunity, and I think, some people have better opportunities than others.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, it's easier for a white man to move up the corporate ladder than a black man with the same education, the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, answer the first question.
Are straight white men oppressed? Yeah.
They're not. Right?
Beautiful.
I made that clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you definitely just did now.
Hi, I'm Corey. I'm here to do this survey today, and currently I work at a shipyard. I think, not all, but I think some, if we're talking about maybe some middle-aged or older white males, I think some of them have actually had more access to some of the opportunities, than the others. But it's not indicative, I think, of all of them. But what I do think is we have a multinational corporations that actually pit people against people. White against black, minority, gay. It's divide and conquer, and I think that's been, I think that's been going on actually throughout history. Now, I do believe that the power structure that controls corporate America and powers that be actually they want to pit us against each other. I do believe that there is racism and discrimination, but my perspective on it is actually is more of a divide and conquer, and if you look at it, speaking. Those who control access to finances and multinational corporations, actually, they are, a lot of them are middle-aged, older white males who actually dominate the sectors. A lot of white males have been, I think it's kind of been like a reverse discrimination for some of them, maybe in schooling and something where they try to make a quota to get in, blacks, gays, and certainly into schools and into the business, the business arena. So I think they have done that, but again, I think it's really all has to deal with the fact that it's all about a divide and conquer. And so that's how they use it to pit each one of us against each other. While these big government, Wall Street, and these groups of people systematically take more and more from all of us. I think that what they do is they try to play each one of us against each other, our weaknesses, our strengths, our differences, to capitalize on it. The highest laws in nature, I believe, are the laws that all people are equal and given access to the same opportunities. There would be no need to set quotas where you have to reverse anything. See, that is the problem in and of itself. You know what I mean? And really, we see is civil rights. For instance, civil rights. Why civil rights is basically telling someone, I'm giving you rights that you didn't have before. Now, if we were all created and we all have a creator, then these are God-given rights that no man or government can legislate. So what they do is, I feel that these corporations, government, create problems where there were none. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what it does is it causes animosity. You know what I'm saying? So when people are feeling singled or left out, you know what I'm saying? Because it's always immoral to in the higher laws to take from one person to give to another. And I think that this is what we have in the system. So the system by nature is oppressive, destructive, and racist. You know what I mean? We as a society wake up to the fact that we are the laws of the land, not these guys. And in this government, they're not these guys sitting behind the thing. We, the people, what I'm saying, should be able to choose what we want to do, or who we want to associate with, or what we want to do, or where we want to work. Not governments with their quotas. You know what I mean?
Hello, my name is Mitch Darlon. I am a project manager, engineer by education.
Do you think that straight white males are oppressed in today's society?
Do I think they're oppressed? No, I don't think they're oppressed.
Why?
Well, because they're soon not to be, but they are the majority group. They're not a what's the word? Protected group, like almost everybody else is. So I wouldn't say we're oppressed.
What would you say?
Not a protected class.
Yeah.
And so my kind of the way I think of it is that unless you're an oppressed group, you're a protected class, or you're not a protected class unless you consider yourself an oppressed group. And since white males are not a protected class, I guess they're not an oppressed group.
Why do you think they're not a protected class?
Because they're not a minority group per se.
Okay.
They're what, I don't know if quintessential is the right word, the white European male. And so we're not a protected class.
Do you think you should be?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of protected classes and so-called oppressed groups shouldn't be. Seems like protected classes and more oppressed groups, so-called oppressed groups, claim to be because they feel discriminated against. However, there are plenty of laws on the books against discrimination of groups. It seems like every time there's a group that claims to be discriminated against, they make themselves a protected class. So we have lots of small protected classes.
Can you give me examples?
Well, for example, blacks are protected class, women are protected class, gays are protected class. Now it's the
LGBT.
LTB folks, and then they're a protected class. Transsexuals are protected class. Latinos are protected class. And that's why when we hired folk at my company, sometimes we would joke if we got a black female, we'd have 2 points up, because we'd have 2 protected classes taken care of, a female and a black female, or you get extra points. Not really, but in the parlance of hiring managers.
Do you think feminism actually oppresses men? The theory kind of goes that by women gaining rights, it's taking away the rights of men.
No, I don't think that. I think the feminist movement now has lost a lot of its. It's almost become a cliche. Someone says, "Well, I'm a feminist." You go, "Well, so what?" In a perfect world, it would be great if we could get away from labels: chauvinist, liberal, conservative, gay. If we could just deal with people as who they are and not what they are.
I mean, that kind of goes into, can you want to get rid of the labels of, like, say, black and white, Latino?
Well, that describes, a Latino describes their, who they are.
But so does gay in some,
But why should that make a difference? Okay, but what that does, by attaching a label, it immediately brings up stereotypes and other things that may or may not fit that particular person.
Very true.
So, for example, if someone were to say to that guy is gay, oh, well, he's probably effeminate, he probably likes Broadway music, he probably, you get all that stereotypical stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, he may not be.
Yeah.
Or she, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, But these days we seem to be very attached to labels and branding.
So throughout my interviews, I've heard a lot, I've learned a little bit, and I've had a lot to think about. But the question still remains, do I feel that straight white males are oppressed in today's society? And my answer is absolutely not. Straight white males are still the majority ruling class who dominate majority of the power and the wealth in this country. And if you are a straight white male and you feel oppressed, I want you to ask yourself why. Is it because that minority groups are starting to gain more human rights and you feel like some of your privileges and powers are being taken away? Because you still have all the rights that you did. It's not acceptable anymore for you to act like the ruling class, as it used to be a lot more acceptable. I'm going to use the analogy of a feminist studies class. I've heard time and time again from men in feminist studies classes that they feel oppressed in class, that their voices are overpowered by militant, lesbian, man-hating feminists. And my answer to that is, when you walk outside of that classroom, are you oppressed anymore? And if you answer no, then you're not oppressed at all.
You beat, cause it ain't me, motherfucker, cause it ain't me. On and on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on.